Uh, Hello everyone. Hope everyone is doing well in this difficult situation. So today I'm gonna tell you what you should expect in your accounting exam and macroeconomics exam. After that, I will provide some of the answers for the previous quizzes and also for the end term test. And also students mentioned that one of the files is corrupt and not working well. They cannot open it. In the file regarding multipliers in open and close dichotomy. So I will record it again today and send to you. Regarding end term test, I send it only for your practice. There will be no test, of course, and you don't need to submit anything. Just the practice exercises. I call it end term test because it covers pretty much everything. So, regarding accounting exam, uh, the length of the exam is 3 hours. Previously, we included 9 questions in the exam. This time we will include only 7 questions to make it easier for you. You will have ample time to answer. Of course, it's not multi-choice. It's including calculations and conceptual answers, so you will give you some time in these 3 hours to scan your answer and send it to us. Okay, so question one. The conceptual question regarding taxation. But of course, the residence concepts have been examined already. Will be examined in test 2, meaning that they will not be examined in the final exam. So in the final exam, the following concepts will be examined: capital, income, taxation of illegal activities, gambling, gifts. Notice. Uh, the structure of the question would be 3 sub-questions, 3 parts of the question, and the brief case study. So brief case, and you need to answer a few sentences on that case. Then you move to the second case and also provide several sentences. Of course, referring to the case law and to the legislation. So this question will take perhaps 30 minutes to answer. Second question concerns non-current assets. First of all, you need to prepare the journal for the purchase of non-current assets. There are some, as you know, there are complex ways of paying for the assets. You can purchase with land or purchase by issuing the shares. So you need to know how to record the purchase of non-current asset. After that, you will be asked to calculate the annual depreciation expense using only one method, because you don't have time to apply all 3 methods. Perhaps it would be just a straight line method, and you need to calculate the expense. After that, you need to prepare revaluation journal entries. The asset in question is not land, it will be equipment or buildings, and therefore it will include accumulated depreciation. Before you revalue this type of asset, you need to remove accumulated depreciation, treat it, to do something with it. So that's the first point regarding revaluation. Second point is that there will be consecutive revaluation, meaning first devaluation, after that revaluation, or the other way around, meaning that for the second revaluation you need to separate the genuine revaluation from non-genuine. And as you know, they go to different accounts: revaluation gain or loss, or a revaluation surplus or reserve. So you need to know how to do it. And the last part of that question on non-current assets concerns disposal of assets. You need to know how to journalize it and record gain and loss on sale. That's question 2, and it will take 20 minutes. Okay, 20 to 30 minutes. No, 20. Question 3, conceptual. Provisions, contingent liabilities, leases, pensions. Most likely provisions and contingent liabilities. What's the difference between them? How we treat them? Where do we put them? How do we disclose them? Do we record them? Do we do any calculation? Can we estimate the value of contingent liability? And so on. Provide a brief answer, several sentences, and it will take you 10 minutes. And this is the first hour of your exam. Question 4. Bond amortization exercise. First of all, calculate the issue price. You would be given the parts of annuity table and present value table, the present value interest factors of annuity. You need to calculate the present value of the coupons and the present value of the principal added together. That will give you the issue price. After that, you need to provide the journal entry for the issue of the bond. Put that value that you calculated into the journal entry. After that, you need to amortize you need to do the amortization schedule using effective interest rate method, not the straight line method, effective interest rate method. There may be rounding issues there. After amortization, you may not get exactly the same figure as you should. It may be different somewhat. I don't deduct marks for this. As long as it is approximately correct, I give full mark for that. But of course, try to estimate everything with two, maybe 3 decimal points to make it precise. Of course, how many periods would be there? Perhaps 4 periods, because I don't want you to spend time on doing amortization for 10 or 15 periods. So you just need to know how to do it. So 4 periods. And after that, the last point for that question is journal entry for the interest expense, taking into account the amortized discounts and so on. So, and for that, that's question 4. It will take close to 20 minutes, I assume, for the average student. Question 5. Intangible assets. How do we treat them? Do we amortize them or not? Do we recognize them or not? What do we do with them? It's conceptual question. You need to know the types of intangible assets and how they're different from each other. So, 10 minutes, please. 1 hour and a half. After that, question 6. Journal entries for the equity. Several parts of it. 4 parts. First of all, issue of share par value and non-par value. You need to know how to do it. Second part of that question, calls and forfeitures. Responding to the calls or not responding. So what do we do with those who did not pay on the first call or on the second call? Something like that. So you need to prepare the journal entry for that. After that, point 3, treasury shares. Purchasing shares into the treasury and then disposing them from the treasury. How we do it. Last point for that question is declaration of the dividend and payment of the dividend. There will be no redemption of the shares. I think Ms. Anim already told you this. So only 4 parts: par, non-par value, call and forfeiture, treasury shares, declaration of dividends and payment of the dividends. So it will take you another 20 minutes. So it is so far 1 hour 15 minutes. And then question 7, cash flow statement using direct method. It will take up to 1 hour 50 minutes perhaps to complete. So it will be using direct method. And it will not be as straightforward as you think. So you may need to calculate gain and loss on sale. You may need to calculate the accumulated depreciation, the value of equipment. So all these items that appear in the footnotes to the question. So the question, of course, will include the income statement for the period, balance sheets for the beginning, for the end of the period, 31st of December this year and last year, and also plenty of footnotes. So you need to use these footnotes to construct the cash flow statement. And so altogether, it will be 2 hours, and then you will have 3rd hour for fixing the errors, for scanning, for sending, That's regarding accounting exam. Then regarding economics, there will be more time constraints in economics exam because it will be only it will give you only 2 hours. 2 hours plus minus 4k check and so on. So there will be 3 parts. Part A, it will include 40 multiple choices. Part B will include calculations and drawing the graph, Keynesian cross diagram. And part C will include 2 essays. There will be actually 4 essays, but you need to write only 2. So you have option to select the question that you are more confident in. So 2 essays. So let me walk you through part A, what to expect. Okay, question 1, how to measure GDP, conceptual question. Question 2, numerical, MPC, APC, MPS, and so on. Question 3, conceptual, equilibrium in Keynesian cross. Question 4, conceptual question. What will happen if any of the following changes? C, S, I, G, X, M, small b, small t, small m. What will happen? Rotation, parallel shift, in what direction? Question 5. Multiplier. What is the usual value of multiplier? Bigger than 1, less than 1, equal to 1? It's all possible, right? Equal to 1. And less than 1 is also possible if we take into account the crowding out effects or feedback effects. If we have linkages between 2 markets, then the overall level of multiplier may be less than 1. And of course, it may be positive, it may be negative if you have taxation and imports multiplier. So that's question 5. Then question 6, 7, and 8, there will be graph of the Keynesian cross, and you need to read from this graph the excess demand, excess supply, the equilibrium level, the multiplier. You can also calculate it graphically, slope, intercept. All that can be done using the diagram. Question 9, ISLM definition. Question 10, shifts of ISLM. Question 11, a relationship between interest rate and IS and LM. Question 12, monetary policy, fiscal policy, what you can expect what will be the outcomes on IS and LM. So that kind of questions. Then after that, question 15 onwards, from question 15 till question 31, it's all AED, AS model, inflation, there are also monetary policy rule. So how many questions on monetary policy rule? 2 questions on monetary policy rule. I sent the notes and the brief video, so have a look at that. But all other questions are on ADAS. So a definition of what is AD, what is SAS, what is LAS. If any of the variables CI, GX, M, money supply, money demand, and parameters BTM, E, and so on, if they change, what will be the effect on the shape of AD, a shape of SAS and LAS, and what will be the effect on prices, on output, and on the level of unemployment. If there are some changes in fiscal and monetary policy, what will be the effect on AD, on SAS, and on LAS? Then question on inflation. What is it? What it is? How it's measured? What types of inflation do we have? Then if we are far away from LAS or close to LAS, what's the difference? What are the effects? 2 schools of thought, Keynesian and classical, so that kind of stuff. Then adjustment in the short run and in the long run. What adjusts in the short run? What adjusts in the long run? It's, as you know, it's all related to the rigidity of wages and input prices. Again, after that question from 23 onwards, it's again shifts of SAS, LAS, and aggregate demand. Then rational and adaptive expectations. What's the difference? Then few questions you'll be given the actual ADAS graph and you need to show the effects, what shifts, where, point A, point B, point C, all that stuff. Then question on crowding out, one question. And one question on relationship between nominal GDP, real GDP population, real GDP per capita, nominal GDP per capita, and inflation rate, numerical question. After that, two questions on purchasing power parity, conceptual and numerical. One question on what will happen to the currency based on purchasing power parity. Will the currency appreciate or depreciate? Is it overvalued or undervalued? The numerical question is similar to the one in your tutorials or in your quizzes about, there was that example of Zara, the girl who goes from Switzerland to Spain, and the exchange rates of Swiss franc and euro is such and such, and the prices are such and such, and you need to find out the answer. So the kind of question. And then another purchasing power parity conceptual question. And after that, monetary policy in closed and in open economy, Mundell-Fleming, and multipliers in open and closed economy. In general, what affects the multiplier? How? That stuff. So this is part A. You should spend 40, if there are 40 questions, you spend 40 on the questions quickly. Then part B, numerical question on Keynesian cross model. So you will be given consumption function, the value of I, the value of G, the value of T. You need to plot everything neatly. So please use the paper where you can plot everything nicely. Identify slope and intercept, identify the aggregate expenditure line. Then you need to do the calculation, find equilibrium level of income, consumption, and savings. After that, one of the variables will change, taxation or government expenditure or I, and of course everything will change, so you need to recalculate everything from the beginning and find a new level of aggregate expenditure, new level of consumption, savings, and income. And after that, the last part of this question is conceptual. What will happen if we allow interest rate to change? Meaning that we allow the interaction between goods and money market. Or what will happen if we allow prices to change? Meaning that we are moving to ADAS. You need to draw the graph for that last point, but in words you need to explain what will be the effect on income and other variables, and what will be effect on the multiplier if we allow interaction between markets or if we allow ADAS models. And the last part of the exam is essay, 2 essays. So what kind of essays you can expect? ADAS and Phillips curve, 2 essays. They are always appearing in the exams. You can see the past year exams, they're always there. So if it's ADAS, you need to draw nicely everything, show what affects SAS and LAS, and most importantly, you need to explain in detail, every single detail, what will be the adjustment from in the short run and in the long run when we move from point A to point B, from point B to point C. Don't just say the curve shifted and prices up and output up. No, you need to explain why they are up, because wages are changing more slowly than output prices, and this affects the level of profits and affects the decisions of the firms to produce and so on. So please provide details. If you don't get full marks for that. And in the similar way, Phillips curve. Phillips curve is the mirror, the inverse of aggregate demand, aggregate supply curve. So when you answer the Phillips curve question, you also need to explain everything in detail. The variables, of course, would be different, would be unemployment and inflation rate. And then what about something like money, monetary policy? That's the type of essay you can explain, tell what it is money market, monetary policy, regarding equivalence, maybe fiscal policy. this kind of questions. Of course, I don't give you the exact wording, but approximately what you need to prepare. Good. Thank you very much.